welcome back to my YouTube channel. Do you own more than 2 or 3 amp heads? Do you own more than 2 or 3 cabs and you like playing with all of them for different situations? If that's the case, then the AT8S Studio and the AT8R remote from Ampete Engineering just might turn your studio from a wiring nightmare into something that is really quite beautiful. So the Ampete AT8S Studio is a system that allows you to switch between 8 heads and 8 cabs in any configuration, as well as choosing up to 2 cabs at once. Some of you may have seen this already. Frederick Thorndal has 4 of them hooked up into his studio, so he can connect between 32 amps and 32 cabs in any order he wants, as well as having 2 cabs at once, which gives you an unbelievable amount of options to choose from for a guitar tone. Let's take a look at the front panel of the Ampete. So from the left to right, we have the instrument input. Pretty self-explanatory, it's where you plug your guitar in. You have 8 push buttons for which amp you want to select, and these illuminate in red when something is selected. You also have the same for the cabs through 1 and 8, except on the cab side, you can actually have 2 of these buttons pushed in. We have an LCD display which displays what ID the AT8S Studio is. So for my one, it'll be 1, and if you cascade them and have up to 4, then it'll be 1, 2, 3, and 4, as well as a power switch on and off. If we take a look at the back from left to right, we have our Iec Input, which can be switched between 115 volts and 230 volts. So it can be used pretty much everywhere in the world. Next up, we have Cat5/Cat6 connectors, and you can connect the AT8R switcher from here or connect it to cascading switches if you have more than one. Next up, we have the speaker bus in and out. So if you have more than one unit, you can cascade them. You go from the out to the in, and it means if you have an amp that's selected on the first unit, then it will send it to a speaker cabinet on the second, third, or fourth unit. And then the in is where it would go into the next unit, just basically so you can cascade them all down. With the speaker bus in, you can select to have a line out option as well if you want, which means that you can send it to external power amps, effects and stuff like that, so that you can, for example, do a wet, dry, wet setup if that's your thing. If we move further right, we have the speaker cabinet outputs through 1 to 8. Pretty self-explanatory. This is where you connect your speaker cabinets. If we move further over to the right, we have the amps speaker output, and this is where you connect your amps output into the unit. Remember that the Ampete switches aren't load compensated and they won't change impedance either, so you want to make sure that you keep an eye on that. Maybe use all 8 ohms or all 4 ohms if that's possible with the amps and the cabs that you have. Next up, we have the line bus in and out. Again, this is another feature you'll be using if you have more than one of these particular units. You'll go from the line bus out into the line bus in of another one, and it's basically taking your dry guitar signal from the input at the front and making it so that it can go through to all of the other cascading switches. You can also use this to connect an external preamp. So for me, I could connect my Mesa rectifier recording preamp into the line in of this. And finally, if we move over to the right, we have the amp instrument input. And for this, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's basically a normal guitar cable that will connect to the front of your amplifiers that you have in the chain. Next up, if we take a look at the AT8R remote, which is optional. You don't need to use it with the AT8S Studio because you have the buttons on the front, but it does mean that you can switch all of the amps and all of the cabs from the comfort of your desk. You can literally have it next to your mouse. And with this, you get the option to select 1 amp and then the 2 cabs. You can A/B between the last setting that you used as well as the one that you have now, so it's instantaneous, so you don't have that time off that your ears have forgotten what the sound before sounded like if you're having to switch all of these cables over, switch cabs and all that sort of thing. You can also switch everything off, so you just reset the unit back to nothing on. As far as the inputs and outputs, from right to left, you have Cat5e connection from the switcher, which is powered over this as well, so you don't need an external power for the remote. If we move further to the left, we have a Footswitch jack, which means that you can select the function of A/Bing from the previous setting by using a latching Footswitch. And finally, we have MIDI in and MIDI out/through, which gives you the option to select via program changes which amplifier you want to select between. Currently, the firmware doesn't support switching the cabs, but I'm pretty sure that that will be made available fairly soon from the guys at Ampete. That's what it says in their manual. The AT8S Studio is such a remarkably powerful tool, especially if you have so many amps and cabs in the studio. It gives you the option to simultaneously switch between all of these. So say you get 3 guitar tones you really like, you can instantaneously switch between them without having to worry about plugging out anything, changing anything. Literally all settings that you had are all there, and literally you press 2 buttons just to choose what cab and what amplifier you want to have. So I'm just going to do a quick demo just to show you how powerful the AT8S Studio can potentially be. So I've thrown a mic into my Box of Doom, an SM57, thrown a mic in front of my Hughes & Kettner 2x12 cab, which is a ribbon mic, and I've also got the 2 Notes Torpedo Studio connected as well, which is in stereo, which means it's got 2 different miking options. As far as the amps go, I've got connected a Hughes & Kettner Grandmeister Deluxe 40 head. I've got the Ampete 100 watt beast of an amp connected as well. And finally, I've got the lovely Mesa Boogie Triple Crown TC50 connected as well. So see what you think of this. It's going to be hearing each individual cab with each individual head, as well as both the Box of Doom and the Hughes & Kettner, the Box of Doom with the 2 Notes and the Hughes & Kettner with the 2 Notes as well. If you run your own studio or even have your own home setup with multiple heads and cabs, then I can't think of a more vital piece of equipment that you need than the Ampete engineering set of studio switches. It just makes your life so much easier. You have all your amps and all your cabs connected all at once, and you don't have to worry about spending half an hour there. You're wasting time just by setting up cables when you can just leave it connected at all times. It's pretty genius, and you can switch with it in a second. So you're not that hour that you spend every single day just like switching between different amps and different cabs. You can literally just do it within seconds, and you can hear if that's the sound for the record that you're making. It's an absolutely vital piece of gear for every studio in the world. The best part about it is that I can't hear that the Ampete's even in the chain. It just sounds like I'm plugged into the front of the head. So they've done a very, very good job of making this unit as transparent as possible. Thanks to all of you for watching my video. If you're a new person, well, welcome. Thank you very much. Please subscribe. And if you're a returning person, then again, please subscribe. And thank you very, very much for your support. If you have any questions, then please leave it in the comments section. Remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And next up, I'll be coming with a new product that I can't talk about. It's super secret, but it's a really, really cool piece of gear from a very, very cool company. So I'm looking forward to showing you that in the next week or two. I also have, within the next couple of weeks, another video with the Box of Doom, but this time I'm going to try it with different speakers. I'm also going to try and see how it handles bass. Thanks again for all your support. Please subscribe, and I'll see you next time.